Brian, how are you doing?
Keeping good, man. How are you keeping?
Very good, very good. Yeah, we didn't have our usual 60-second intro there.
No, we're just giving out about that tech. Do you know, I find this all the time with all these new apps, and especially when I was doing the research for the PhD. Every time I go back to do something the following year, just they've done a new iteration or they've a new version, and it's the same with the TV stuff as well. They're just always changing things. It can be a pain when you're not a techie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, look, this. So for anyone watching, I'm using Restream here, and it's allowing us to share simultaneously on LinkedIn Live, on Facebook, and on what's the other
YouTube.
one? YouTube as well. Yeah. So like it's been perfect for the first 3 weeks. For whatever reason, the nice little video intro we had has just disappeared there as we were going live. It was like a 60-second countdown. It allowed people kind of maybe to get ready to see the update that we were going live. But look, it's not the end of the world.
That's it. We'll motor on.
We will indeed. We will indeed. Listen, Brian, how was your week?
Yeah, it's been an interesting and busy week. It's one thing I'm finding from this, Brian. It's really, I always say this: what gets measured gets managed. When you're actually writing things down and measuring it, you end up managing it or becoming more aware of it. And I think what this, what we have always done for each other, but I think it's even shined a bigger light on it because we're going live, is the fact that our achievements and what we plan for the week in advance and what we're doing. There's an awful lot of changes. Like life gets in the way, things get in the way, especially in the business world. So it's been very interesting. Crazy busy, getting loads of stuff done, but it's really helped me to recognize the changes that are happening and the pivots that I've been having to make.
Yeah, it helps to focus, all right. And I think
Yeah.
you're right. Even though we were doing this previously, we might have been just a little bit looser on the targets. Whereas now I'm feeling really accountable for the priorities that I've set for the week and just making sure I've hit them, or if I haven't hit them, why have I not hit them this week? So it's definitely helping with that focus.
Definitely help. And it brings me to other people. If anyone's listening here, obviously they're not part of this video series, as in me and you doing this, but it's like this works in any context. And what I'm finding is with a lot of the good companies that I deal with, accountability is one of their core values. I was only chatting with a CEO today, and accountability again. I wasn't surprised that it's the core thing. So it's just getting other people to keep you accountable. And a simple way for anyone listening to this to do that is tell your friends, tell your family, this is what I'm going to do. And all of a sudden it puts that good pressure on you to stay accountable for what you say you're going to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of that, so for last week, I have down for you, you were looking at, your three priorities were you had a corporate course you were looking at to develop, the business plan, and your video series. How did you get on against those?
Yeah, so 2 out of 3, Brian, didn't do too bad. So the video series, started the video series. I was delighted with the fourth thing. And it was just one small video, but it was getting the lighting right. It was getting the angle right, getting it on YouTube, getting my brand really to what the clips are going to look like when I put them on YouTube. So I got that done, doing the second one tomorrow. That worked great. And the corporate course, that is pretty much in the bag, done and dusted, ahead of schedule. So delighted with that. That was a big nugget that I had to get out of the way. The business plan was a no-go. So I'm going to be touching on that later on when we're talking about a few different things. But a business plan is a much bigger deal than I thought it was. It's about strategy. It's about brand. It's about SWOT analysis. It's about finding out what you don't know and finding out where you need to go. So it's a huge endeavor that I've heard one person I chatted that says it takes 3 to 6 months to do a business plan. I thought I was going to do it in a day. So a bit optimistic there. But why I didn't get into that was basically a couple of things got in the way. So I had the PhD revision. I thought it was pretty much finished, but I had a tiny revision that turned into a big change. So I was getting that done took up 2 days. So I'll be getting back to the business plan next week. So 2 out of 3 wasn't too bad. How did you go on yourself? I have down for you your EU project, episode 1 of the podcast season, which I did know happened, and the innovation fund. So how did they go?
Yeah, well, a bit like yourself, I did a meatloaf on it as well. 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
No.
I got finished all the content for that EU project.
Brilliant.
That's a couple of minor revisions that I've just seen come through, but it really is minor stuff. So delighted with that. Got episode 1 launched there of season 4 of the podcast. Really great episode as well. Great feedback in for that. And then the third one that slipped really was the innovation fund for Parkit. But I suppose the main reason that slipped was we got notification just during the week that the deadline had been extended. So it didn't have the same kind of priority. So I actually just prioritized a few other things in the meantime. So that's still there. That's still on the focus, on the radar. But just didn't have the same kind of priority. But yeah, so 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
2 out of 3. And you know what? That's kind of a 3 out of 3. That's a pivot. That's flexibility there,
Yeah.
right? Other things have come into play because of the extension. So I think you can give that 3 out of 3.
Can you give me 3 out? Okay. Well, I was going to say, it's on my achievements. I recorded videos there as well. I've just come from doing that there this morning. And I don't know about you, but I am not a fan of it's recording videos for a launch that I have coming up. So it's just me talking to camera. I am not a fan of that. I had the light. I had the tripod and stuff like that. It's not my thing, man. I don't like it.
Yeah. I don't know if it's anyone's thing. It's difficult. It's really difficult. I tried to get into a certain mode of just being an entertainer or something like that, an entertainer, but just like this is this and just being emotionally evoking. But then I've heard conversations that you should just be conversational. People don't want that in your face kind of thing. So just talk as if you're talking to someone in the camera, as if you're having a conversation. But as you said, it's really, really difficult. It's one of the most challenging things I find is speaking to a camera like that.
Yeah, we might do a whole episode on that later on.
Yeah, definitely. That'd be a great one. So what were your achievements, Brian? So that was one.
Yeah, so that was the achievements. That was one. The others were, well, yeah, so I finished the U project, got that done. Episode 1 launched, and it was recording the videos. So got videos recorded kind of ahead of schedule, if you like, for a launch I have coming up on 21st of October. So they're done. The videos are done and dusted for that.
Excellent. My achievements this week. So the course, getting that course, the corporate course over the line was a big achievement. The PhD, which I thought was done and dusted, came back to bite me. Getting that done was a big achievement for this week as well. And then I'm also developing an online course that it's more of a public online course as well. And we really got that far, but we reached out to a lot of affiliates and loads of them are interested in that. So it's really going to boost the promo of the course and boost the sales of the course hopefully as well. So that was a huge achievement this week, even though it was only a couple of phone calls. So that was great.
Nice, yeah, brilliant.
So this week's topic.
Yeah, we're going to talk about funding and finances. Yeah. Getting started really, like, and how can you get started if you're a sole trader, if you're a small business, that kind of thing.
And when you have no money.
When you have no money. So pretty much that's the focus really, isn't it? Yeah. And well, like I think like always, like it's not, we're not gonna, well, we can touch on all the supports that are out there, but like, you know, other organizations like the local enterprise office are brilliant for those, for putting on sessions, seminars, telling you exactly what you can avail of. I think what we're going to talk about is our personal stories, how we got started.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And we'll be touching on the enterprise offices as well, and just the elements that come into that. So I think you have a lot more experience here, Brian, as well. And I know you helped direct me in terms of that as well. So do you want to shoot off then on your experiences?
Sure, I'll share my own personal story, how I got started. So you're pretty much going back 5 years. Like I knew I wanted to set up my own business. I was in the corporate world. I was working away. I'd started blogging on the side, and I was hoping to turn that into a business further down the line. As luck would have it, I was offered voluntary redundancy. So I took that. So it was a job I kind of wanted to leave, and I was paid to leave. So that was huge. So I had a bit of revenue in the bank, almost like a bit of breathing room there, thanks to the redundancy. And I'd say it was a month later. Well, during that time, the first thing I did, I went into the local enterprise office. Fantastic, by the way, great supports, one-to-ones, or you can start your own business programs, all this kind of stuff, just to kind of find out what was out there. And one thing I discovered there was, and it's something I was really interested in anyway, there was a postgrad coming up in innovation and entrepreneurship in Trinity, and it was Springboard funded as well. So it was an amazing program, something I was really interested in. So I signed up to do that, and that pretty much started about a month, maybe 2 months after I took redundancy. So it was lovely timing for that. And to support me with that, Leo pointed me in the direction of, there was a fund available called the Back to Education Allowance. So I think it's effectively like social welfare, but because you're going back into education as an adult, you can avail of this fund. So that is exactly what I was doing. I was doing the postgrad. I was able to avail of this fund. Now, it's not massive, but it covered the mortgage for the year I was doing the program. And so then the redundancy helped just pay the bills. So doing the program, have the mortgage covered, that was a huge help. The back to education allowance to get started. I think, did you avail of that one?
I was just about to say that, Brian.
Yeah.
I availed of that as well. So when I got back, like I wouldn't have been able to go to college because there were certain bills that I came out of addiction, but there were certain bills that I had to pay as well. Now I had to get a part-time job on top of that, but it was basically make or break for me. If I did not get the back to education allowance, I would not have been able to go to college. So it was like really, really important for me. It's a great service that's there.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. And following on that, again, I think it was again in working with the Leos, with the local enterprise office, and kind of start your own business program. Like, I don't know if it's an actual program or what, but they kind of guided me through the process. And you have to do a business plan as part of this as well. So I know you're in your business plan mode at the moment. So I would have done one back then. And as part of that, if you do it through the Leos and let's say you're out of work for a period of time, there's 2 schemes available. So one of them is called the short-term enterprise allowance if you're out of work less than 12 months. But if you're out of work for more than 12 months, it's called the back to work enterprise allowance. It's probably not a great naming because it's really about starting your own business. It should be called startup enterprise allowance.
Startup fund or something. Yeah.
Anyway, that was that. But that was class again. So literally set up the business, had a business plan, but had this kind of funding as well, like weekly kind of, it's like a payment, and it's 100% of the payment is for year 1, with 75% is then for year 2 as well. So again, huge support, mortgage being covered effectively, while it gives me the breathing room to get the business set up, to start getting out there, trying to sell services. And I can tell you, I needed it badly because I was 2 full years before I generated a cent. I think I made €400 in year 2. And that was it. So those, like these supports were what allowed me to set up and to stay afloat. And I luckily I had the redundancy in the background to cover the bills, because these funds were pretty much paying the mortgage. That's what allowed me to get set up. And one other small point on that is, if you're doing one of those, the short term or the back to work enterprise allowance, there's I think it's enterprise support grants you can avail of. So you can get like 80% of your laptop paid, marketing materials, this kind of stuff. I didn't avail of them fully now. I did a couple of them, but they are available as well.
Yeah, brilliant. And the one thing that has jumped out with me with my experience with this as well, Brian, is that the Leo, especially all them grants, they're very clued into what you actually need. A realization for me was, well, I really need that. They're really on the ball there. Like, I wouldn't have been able to do what I wanted to do unless this was available. Like, you have to finger on the pulse of what's required without giving too much. And I just think they're definitely on the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And from your own side, then, what after the back to education allowance?
Yeah, so I'm very, very, very new. Besides the back to education allowance, so that was just to get me back into college for me undergrads. Then I got a scholarship. So that's another thing I didn't think of either. So I got a scholarship for my master's and a scholarship for my PhD. So that was called the Irish Research Council. So back to education allowed me to do my undergrad, and then the Irish Research Council helped me to fund 4 years of my master's and my PhD research. So I would have been able to get them done without that, but it was able to pay the bills. Like you said, it would have been probably taking me longer to do that. So that was absolutely critical. And then I started my business 2 years ago. And what I found, I'm very new to the world of grants. I've only been looking into it in the last couple of months. But what I found very important for me is the power of connections. And obviously with you've informed me about Leo and supports on that as well. And I was going to be looking at grants. I'm pals with Senator Lynn Ruane as well. And only recently Lynn put me towards a local grant. So I applied for that as well. And then after chatting to yourself and other mentors, a mentor of mine put me in contact with a guy that does stuff around Leo grants as well. And he's going to help me on the application process. So I wouldn't have done that because it was very, when I go into the world of grants, like it's the language is just, I don't know the language, the business language, and then the grant business language. It's all very overwhelming if you're not in that zone. It's a learning process. So having that people to help you through that has been really critical for me, and just to talk me through the basics. So for me, I applied for Leo, and what I found personally for me, so I want to rebrand my website and do a rebrand, and so that's what I was specifically looking for. So they do these online vouchers with Leo where you can pay for half your website. So that was great.
Trading online vouchers.
Trading online vouchers, brilliant. So that's really, really good.
They used to pay 90%.
Wow, did they? That's unfortunate.
I missed that as well.
Yeah. That's nice. So hopefully, we website could be potentially like 3-4 grand. Pays half of that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
But then I found out about these other grants, and there's these 3 grants for companies for companies that they have that Leo have at the moment, and one of them is like a startup grant. And it basically, I think it pays between 10 and 15 grand per person for new employees that you want to take on, and for other elements as well. So I didn't go for that grant because I'm existing 18 months or whatever. So the other grant I went for is called a priming grant.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know the ins and outs of what they cover, but I do know what they do cover is up to 15,000 for any employees that you're going to be taking on. Now, I'm at the stage of my business where I need to take on someone else. I'm doing too much. I need to focus on the stuff that's going to serve me into the future, and that's what I'm going to focus. So this gives me the opportunity, if I get the grant, to take somebody on to look after the background stuff that allows me to push the company forward. But then there's allowances to take a second person on if that's the case as well, and again up to 15 grand of their wages. So that's absolutely incredible. But they also allow you to buy like whether it's computers, stuff, different hardware that you might need, other sources that you might need to take them on. Now there's a third grant as well that's there for more established businesses. I don't know anything about that. I wasn't that, so I didn't look into that, but there's a third source there for anyone else that's in that area as well. But the big difference is the big aspects of it that I wanted to talk about that I found was basically what they are looking for. So there's an eligibility criteria and certain criteria that you won't be eligible for it as well. So they don't really want to work with companies that's going to be doing consultancy work. So one-to-one work around like that, that's just crossed off straight away. So what they're looking for is people that have business that are going to sell products or services that can scale. So what they loved with me is didn't love with me, but what were suited for my courses was online services. So I provide online courses.
Something innovative. They like something innovative, something a bit
innovative, yeah, and something that can scale. But the big part, if you want to apply for these grants, the big thing that they're looking for, and I haven't got this grant now, so I will say that this is the information I've gotten so far, but I think I've been given a good indication that I should get it, is basically it's for exports. So Leo, our enterprise Ireland, it's a government established corporation or organization. So we want money coming into Ireland. We want exports. So if you have services or products that you're going to sell in another country and bring money into Ireland, well, then they are going to be more inclined to give you grants towards that. So if I do get this grant down the line, not only they'll be giving me money to helps to employ someone, so I'm helping with the employment in Ireland, and my services will also be sold in another country that's going to bring money into the country as well. So they are the 2 big criteria that they're really looking for to get you over the line. And there's other ways of doing it as well, obviously. Yeah. But they're the big things that I've noticed, the big tick boxes that you need to be doing. And
very good, yeah. And they're like specific grants that you can avail of. There's the innovation voucher as well. That's up to 5 grand. There's a path you can go as well. Let's say someone has an idea out there. How do you get your idea out there? Well, first, let's say you chat with the Leos, the local enterprise office. There's a good chance they might send you on to your local kind of New Frontiers program. So the DITs, or well, they're not DITs anymore, the TUs, the technical universities, run a really great program. But it's kind of Enterprise Ireland, as I understand it, is the New Frontiers program, but they run them through the TUs around Dublin, around the country, actually. So New Frontiers, and I've gone through this with my partner Annalise. She has her own business as well. You can do New Frontiers phase 1. It's pretty much mentoring, support, workshops. There's no funding there. But if you do New Frontiers, then phase 2, move on to phase 2. There's funding involved. I think it's 15 grand, almost like a 6-month program. Again, if you're really making progress with your idea, with your business, then you can move on to be maybe one of their, I think, HPSU, their high potential startups. And that's, you're talking 50 grand there and maybe more. So lots of options there. If let's say you've got a tech idea, you might go into one of the accelerator programs. Again, we went through if you're in Trinity, for example, Tangent have an excellent Launchbox program there, funding available. A lot of the universities, if you're a student level, a mature student going back, you can avail of these accelerator programs too.
Yeah, it's great. just great services out there, and it's without that knowledge, without me speaking to yourself or speaking to a couple of people in the world that have that knowledge, you just wouldn't know. So it's really a good idea. Ring your local Leo office and find out what services are available, because if you don't ask, you don't get. That's the bottom line. And then another core thing, the biggest part of this for me by applying for these grants is that it's not an easy process. They're not just going to hand you the money. Like, they want to see your plans, your what you're going to do. So a big part of this, you have to provide an initial summary of what your plan is. Isn't that big a deal? Isn't a huge amount of work that goes into that. But after that, you're going to have to do a business plan. Now, I didn't know what a business plan was about and the depth of a business plan. I thought I was going to get it done in 2 days last week. It was part of my my accountability things for this week. But I've been told it can take up to 3 to 6 months to do a business plan. Now, my business is already established, but what it's given me is a sense of, right, a directional sense of where I need to go. So it really has me thinking about strategy, about my brand again, back to what I want to do, who are my core customers, what's my strengths, weaknesses. So you do a SWOT analysis and all of that as well. So it really gets you to think deeply. And instead of, now I could have said I have to do a bloody business plan, but I don't want to do it that way. I'm going to use the business plan is going to be me. I'm going to use it as a way to direct me in the where I need to go or what the business is. So I'm going to use it as a tool to help me to focus and to hone my area of expertise and the customers that I need to help.
Exactly. It is. It's a great opportunity for you to sit down and really think properly. How often you get a chance to do that, to think about your business,
critical.
Maybe project 3 years into the future, maybe 5 years, but realistically where you're going to be or where you want to be. So it's a really worthwhile exercise. What I will say, and I think I hinted at this last week, is if I look back now at that business plan that I put together when I was applying for whichever grant it was, I can't remember which one it was, the Back to Work Enterprise Allowance, that was a detailed business plan. Spent a lot of time on that. Like, if I look back on that now, like, that is a complete work of fiction. What I do now, there's nothing in that plan that I'm doing now. There really isn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's not a worthwhile exercise, because it really helps focus the mind. In fact, what I need to do is, like yourself, I need to sit down and redo it now.
Do it again.
And plan for 3 years from now, and maybe 5 years from now. That's what I need to do.
And could I ask you a question, Brian? Would you say you potentially, I am thinking now, you potentially wouldn't be where you are now without that fiction? You needed that fiction to give you the guidance of where you are now, even though it's a different end game.
It was the structure at the beginning to get me started, where I thought I wanted to go, where I thought the business was, and soon realized it wasn't there. But it was quick. Had to pivot. Had to change focus, do different things. Didn't have to stick rigidly to the business plan, and luckily I didn't. Business plans are, what are they? They're living, breathing documents. You need to keep updating them. You're saying it might take 3 to 6 months to create it. I'd say you need to revisit them every 3 to 6 months anyway. Yeah,
definitely. I think that's really, really important to be flexible within that as well.
Yeah.
So we're coming up in time here. I think anything to add to that before we go into the takeaways for the week?
No, just to say, lovely message in from Pauline there, who she seems to have a similar story. She took her redundancy as well about 5 years ago, and she loves your own story there. It's a detailed message. Probably is not all coming up there, but and she loves your passion, Brian. She's actually doing her master's in workplace health promotion at the moment and kind of soaking it all in. There's something about being a mature student, I think, going back to education. I did a degree in DCU and just straight out of school, and I don't know, I did it to get it done, just kind of to get it out of the way. Whereas when I went back as a mature student, like, I absolutely soaked it all up. I was the Trinity same as well. I joined all the societies that I could as well.
Annoyingly so, soaking it up. Give me more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Asking all the questions at the top of the front of the class kind of thing.
Typical mature student. I'd say anyone that's gone back to college can relate to that. Crazy.
Right, Brian. Yeah, as you say, five minutes to the hour. So, what are your priorities now for next week?
Yeah, so the big ones for me, and they're interlinked, right? So the first one that I've noticed, so I was trying to create brand. I'm restructuring my brand, restructuring what I want to do, what was part of the business plan. But a big thing that I've realized talking to a couple of people this week is that I need to work on strategy, because there's no point in working on a business plan and rejigging my website if I don't know what my strategy is. I don't know who my customers are. So I'm really going to be looking deeply into strategy, and I have a couple of conversations with people this week around what my strategy is going to be, who my core customers are, and what that is. And I have to really put a lot of thinking into that. So I'm not going to have my strategy next week. It's going to be like the business plan, a long-term plan, but I'm going to dig deep into that and have a couple of conversations with people. I'm going to make a start. The second one is I'm going to make a start on my business plan as well, and see how deep I can get into that. I'm going to get help. I'm going to delegate some of the work on that as well. So hopefully I'll get a big jump on that, and then hopefully the strategy is going to shine through on that as well. They're going to complement each other as well. So they're the two things. And then the other one is the online course that I'm doing. I want to get the marketing for that over the line, get it up on the website. It's called The Psychology and Neuroscience of Manifesting. So it's not so much debunking manifesting, but it's debunking some of the ideas that if you just think of what you want, you're going to get it. That's not the way it works. So I really gone into the science and the action and the things that unblock you from manifesting what you want in your life. I don't really like the word manifesting, but let's just go with that. But we're going to get the marketing up for that. So that's the next big one for next week.
Okay, nice one. Yeah. So I've got the three
What's
of
yours,
them down. So yeah, for me, so next week, so priorities, the three priorities. I'm working on a contract. We're almost there in a contract, a big contract with an organization signing up to take on a lot of my online courses. So
Brilliant.
I want to hopefully get that over the line this week. Dates, I want to confirm the dates and the content and the title for the upcoming Tangent Masterclasses for between now and the end of the year, but also early into 2022. So I've got a few meetings on that. So I want to have that confirmed by this time next week. And I want to pull the trigger on insurance for the Parkit Community Leader Program as well. So I just checked yesterday, the funding from that award that we won last week has hit the bank account. So I want to get I can pull the trigger on the insurance. Just need to go over, dot the I's and cross the T's on that, and make sure the board are happy to sign up to the insurance, and then we're good to go with that's for the Parkit Community Leader Program.
Excellent. Happy days. So a couple of big projects lined up for the next week.
Few big things.
We'll be busy.
Exactly. Yeah. Sure. It's a nice way to be.
Yeah, it is. It's surely, especially when you enjoy it. It really is.
Exactly.
This is a great session, man. I think there's a lot of value in there, a lot of stuff that I would have loved to have heard this information 6, 10, 8 months ago. And the one thing I'd leave it there is don't be afraid. I think like sometimes it can be overwhelming looking at all of these things, but like me and you are about the same. It's only when you jump in and actually say, right, just do it, just let's have a go. And that's where the learning is and all of this kind of stuff. It's through the experience. Exactly.
Like and what you're doing, we kind of spoke about this, business plans, working on your strategy, getting all that right. That's really, really important stuff. But you need to be taking action at the same time as well. You need to be moving forward. So don't spend, like I spent an awful lot of time. I can't remember how long on that business plan without actually taking action, without actually doing anything.
Yeah.
Just writing, just trying to get my head around the business model. So yeah, take action as well as that planning phase.
And the action informs it then as well. Like it's like a racehorse, really. Two racehorses racing each other. It's like and here we're no experts on this as well. It's something we always say, like different things work. Who is an expert? I think different things work for different people, and it's the experience and the actions you learn as you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, Brian, we're coming up to the hour. I really enjoyed that.
Same here, Brian. Really good. Really enjoyed it.
Watching in or watching the replay, let us know in the comments or drop us a line. What other topics would you like us to cover on future episodes? Let us know.
Yeah. So next week we're thinking of doing 6 traits of an entrepreneurial mindset. So that's potentially next week's topic. Yeah. So keep an eye out.
Good.
Excellent.
Brian, have a great week.
You too. Chat soon, man. Bye bye.